Welcome to the Recklessly Skeptical podcast. My name is Josh.
I'm Joe.
And I am Big Daddy Matt.
Oh, snap.
And we welcome you here today. Make sure to check out this is going to be on YouTube only for now until we decide that we want to do more. And we've got also our personal YouTube channels. These two go under The
Evil Atheist.
And you can find my channel, ZZZ Giant Awake. And you can also join us in conversation on Facebook at The Evil Atheist Facebook group. Make sure it's the group page, not the
community page.
Yes.
The group page is much more fun.
Yeah, there's actually stuff there and people talking.
Yeah.
So we wanted to continue on talking about David Silverman is coming February 10th, which is Wednesday. He actually is coming to Library Square.
Awesome.
6 a.m. to 10 p.m. For all our local listeners, you guys can find, let me just give you that. He'll be at 210 East 400 South, Salt Lake City, Utah, 84111. And he's going to be there Wednesday, 6 to 9. He'll also be on the radio from Hell Show, so if you're up early enough to listen to morning radio, I don't know what time he'll be on that show, but he'll definitely be on there. All right, so I'm going to read a quote from his book, and let me grab that. And this is about morality. And again, David Silverman, we described him as a militant atheist. I know he prefers firebrand. He thinks that that's the perfect word for how to describe himself. And this is about morality. All humans have their own morality, which is fluid between people and, on a societal level, across space and time. That's why Muhammad had sex with Aisha when she was 9 years old. It was moral at the time, or at least acceptably moral. That's why some Christians owned slaves with the blessings of their church. It was moral at the time. That's why anyone claiming morality is fixed is simply ignorant of world history or even American history, not to mention the state of the world today. And we'll go with that. All right.
That is a good quote.
I like it.
And let's look at the stories. Joe, you had something to start us off with.
Yeah, I had this is from The Hill, and this was February 7th, 2016.
That's today.
That's today, 1:36 p.m. Eastern Time.
That's like less than half an hour, or right around half an hour ago.
Exactly, but by the time people hear this, it might be, what, couple days or whatever.
God damn it.
Ha! In your face! Okay, so Clinton hangs on in revised Iowa caucus results. The Iowa Democratic Party on Sunday updated the results of the Iowa caucuses after discovering discrepancies in the tallies at 5 precincts, but the final count or outcome remains unchanged. Now, that's what the article says. It did change a little bit. The total net change gives Sanders an additional .1053 state delegate equivalents and strips Clinton of .122 state delegate equivalents. And Martin O'Malley actually received .0167. But apparently it's a change of about 5 delegates.
Really? That's a huge amount. Unless it was just talking about the state delegates, which is
the state delegates.
Okay,
yeah.
Kind of different.
Not the super delegates. Now, what is the super delegate?
Oh yeah, so super delegate. There are people in the Democratic Party who hold the power to. They count as a delegate, equal to a delegate from a state, from a vote.
So are these senators, congressmen, and women, or?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know the answer to that, but their vote counts. As much as probably close to 1 million people's worth of voting counts.
Really?
Yeah, and there's a lot of them. But it's built into the system. It's fine. I prefer that electing someone was more clear and more easy to understand. Like, my law professor in the class that I'm taking, he's like, there's a class where every year, all they try and do, the whole entire class, is figure out how a person's elected.
And that's all they do.
Yeah, he was somewhat joking, but essentially he was saying, as a lawyer, it's still confusing.
I mean, let's get rid of the electoral college and the delegates and stuff, and just, you know what, you would like
do the
someone,
popular vote.
You go do the popular vote. That's the way it should be. And I think the one reason why we have the electoral college and the super delegates is so the people in office and power can easily maintain that power.
I don't know if it was that absurd at the time. The reason why they had it, though, specifically, was the same reason you have the House of Representatives. It's because you can't acknowledge everybody's vote. Like in counties back, you were talking about like the late 1700s or late late 1700s, early 1800s. How do you count 1 million votes without any technology at all?
Yeah, but now that the technology has changed, let's fucking change the way we vote. And
I agree.
Like
Yeah,
Matt
totally.
was saying, you know,
Do
the popular vote.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, in my mind too. And that also would make it feel like, hey, in Utah, even though the state's going to vote 56% Republican, my vote fucking counts
Yes.
towards something nationally.
Yes, because states, you know, all the delegates in this state will go to a Republican or whatever, where if we were counting the popular vote, my vote would still count.
Yeah. And also, another thing is that something to be more excited about is that in Utah, we can still select who represents the Democratic Party. We still our delegates for the Democratic vote.
Well,
still
that's
count.
why, March 22nd, I know I am. Matt, are you? And Josh, are you?
I'm definitely going to vote.
Yes.
this
Yeah.
fall.
There's a semi-caucus here in Utah, and we're going to go down to our local caucus area and get a head count and
Caucus.
stuff, and I will vote for Bernie Sanders.
Sweet. Yeah,
I will as well.
I'm going to stay undecided until the last minute.
You're going to be in the O'Malley fucking
Yeah.
little group, huh?
Yeah.
The O'Malley group that I'll just be there by myself. Oh, O'Malley dropped? No.
No, I'm sure there's some people that'll be in that group, and the Hillary Clinton supporters will come over and try to talk everybody into joining the Clinton group, and you can just stand there and be like, no, that's not a good idea. Let me tell you all why.
He dropped out, though, so like there won't be any.
Well, then why are they still giving him points?
Because there was an O'Malley group at the beginning of that night.
Well, but apparently in the caucuses, his. Oh, that's weird.
I hear poopy sounds.
That was really. It's my microphone, I swear. But I got it down over by my pants. Okay, but so his. What in the hell?
That explains why it always seems like you're talking out of your ass.
See, but what I still don't understand is why. Well, in the caucuses, if he doesn't have enough points or delegates and stuff, they're supposed to move over to a different side.
Well, during
whether
the
it be
during the
Bernie
caucus,
or Hillary.
during the caucus they can, and the super delegates will get resubmitted. But the delegates there unfortunately can't be because it's already been voted.
The people who went undecided, or the O'Malley votes.
Yeah, the O'Malley votes are essentially sitting dead. It's fine. Like it's
right.
just part of the process.
Lame.
Yeah. All right, and so let's move forward. Let's go into the secular story. So we've got two clips here that Matt and me talked about and came up with. Definitely, Matt was the one who came up with the reason or the concept. So let's listen to Ben Carson first, or do you want to listen to Rubio first?
No, I think we should totally listen to Ben Carson. Can I give a small little tidbit to it?
Yeah.
So I saw this video clip on Facebook, and it's from a right-wing Christian page, and their little title under the video is Dr. Ben Carson demolishes a militant atheist. And all it is just an atheist guy like asking Ben Carson some questions.
Yeah, here we go.
Thank you for attending. I'm an atheist voter. I'm not planted here. I am born and raised in Iowa. I have a question about how your faith will play a role in your presidency.
Okay.
First off, some candidates have said that God's law trumps our country's law. Do you agree with that, and can you name a situation where that would be the case? Secondly, Mr. Cruz had said that he is a Christian first and American second. Does that hold true for you?
Well, first of all, everybody, including atheists, live according to their faith.
False.
It's just what they decide to put their faith in.
False.
And everybody's actions are ruled by their faith and by their beliefs. Now, in my case, I have strong faith in God, and I live by godly principles.
So let's pause there because I want to
Yeah.
start because I think there's two separate things that he says, and I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Joe, you live by your faith, right?
No.
What do you mean?
Oh, I live by evidence, and my evidence is not backed by faith. It's backed by evidence.
Yeah, and people use the word faith in different ways. But most of the time when you're talking to a religious person, they use it in a way that they believe in God or believe in this religion, they know it's true and they have no evidence for it. If they had evidence for it, they wouldn't need faith, and they would present their argument.
Yeah.
And in that way, I do not have faith in anything. If you can present something to me, like Matt Dillahunty says, that I have faith in, then I'm going to stop believing it right now.
Yeah.
And I like what Matt says. He says, I have reasonable expectations based on evidence. And that's when I believe things.
Yes, exactly.
No, that's when you should, at least.
That's when you should believe things, yes.
Yeah, but you mean the idea that there's no God? You don't have faith that there's no God?
Well, I don't believe that there is no God. I just lack a belief in a God. It's the default position.
And but here's the thing: if somebody gave Matt evidence that God does exist, Matt wouldn't have faith that he doesn't. He would be like, "Oh shit, God exists."
Yep, and that doesn't mean I'd worship him either.
Yeah, well, yeah, and so yeah, and that's the problem with faith-based thinking. You know, I do not have faith-based thinking. I have logic and reasonable faith or thinking, and it's a process. It's not just this is what you've been told. This is indoctrination since you were a child, and this is the way you got to believe, and you need to make it work in your head somehow to the point to where you don't even understand reality.
All right, so let's move on to the second clip. And I'm actually going to play both Carson's and Rubio's because they both cover essentially the same subject matter and something that both me and Matt have done what I feel is a decent amount of research into it. So let's let Ben Carson speak first and then Marco Rubio.
Of loving your fellow man, caring about your neighbor, developing your God-given talents to the utmost so that you become valuable to the people around you, having values and principles that govern your life. And that's going to dictate how I treat everybody. Fortunately, our Constitution, which is the supreme law of our land, was designed by men of faith. Oh. And it has a Judeo-Christian foundation.
No.
Therefore,
We'll
there is no conflict there. So it is not a problem.
All right, now let's move over to Rubio. And this Rubio question is in response to the question, or Rubio answers in response to the question is he running for pastor-in-chief? Which I think is a funny question.
Definitely.
I'm going to share my faith, especially when I'm asked. Because my faith influences who I am in every aspect of my life. First of all, I believe you can't really understand America unless you don't understand. If you don't believe that Judeo-Christian values influenced America, you don't know history. I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general. This nation was founded on the principle that our rights come from our Creator. If there's no Creator, then where did your rights come from? And so that's why it's important for us to understand that. And we're going to protect the rights of Americans to continue to believe that.
That was from the camera, Joe, not your microphone.
Okay, I was like, God, is my microphone being stupid again?
No. So, did you know this country was founded by religious people who founded it based on Judeo-Christian beliefs?
Oh, our founding fathers were Christian? Is that what both of these idiots just said?
No, both of these idiots are saying something even stupider than that. They're saying the Constitution was based on principles from the Judeo-Christian, essentially from that faith.
Oh, my God.
So the First Amendment states, and I quote, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. So that is what's called the Establishment Clause. It's the very first sentence in the very First Amendment.
Of the Constitution?
Yes.
Yeah, and then there's the other half. Do you have that?
Yes, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances.
Okay, so Matt and me have done some research because we're writing something, and that'll be eventually, it'll probably be a year or two before it's a real thing. But there are 7 founding fathers that have been so key to the development of the United States. And so of those 7 founding fathers, there was John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and I'm missing someone, James Madison. There we go.
Yes.
Those are the 7 key founding fathers. Without them, our country might look a lot different. And out of those 7 people, 5 are most likely as adults, not as the early writers, but as adults, we're deists.
And you can see their quotes clear as day.
Yeah, and two of them were Christian, John Jay and John Adams.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think John Jay was a secularist. He would have been the one exception to it. But John Adams was definitely a secularist, even though he was most definitely religious. The claim that there were three philosophers that all fed into what became our Constitution, which are Montesquieu, Rousseau, and John Locke. None of them had anything to do with a strong religious organization. They all thought secularly. Like, the idea that we're founded on Judeo-Christian values is absolutely absurd. If you can point to one passage in the Bible that has anything to do with our Constitution or our Declaration of Independence, let me know. Like, there really is nothing.
And if you can point to one thing in our Constitution that shows that it's based off of Christianity, let me know, because it's not there. It never says Jesus. It never says Christian. It never says the Bible.
Well, it does
never
say
says
in the
anything.
year of our Lord, like what, once? But then, but
in the Declaration.
Yeah, and what is that about? In the year of our Lord.
That's just
it's just
a calendar.
Yeah.
It's the way of marking time.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do. Oh, see God, see Lord Jesus.
Yep.
No, you're.
I find it funny whenever I see religious people post quotes by our founding fathers when it says the word God in there, because they just automatically assume it's the Christian God. But when you actually dig deeper, a lot of them, they, like we said earlier, they were deist. Benjamin Franklin said, didn't he say, lighthouses are more useful than churches?
1 sec.
So what Benjamin Franklin said was lighthouses are more useful than churches. And Thomas Jefferson, he said, the Christian philosophy, the most sublime and benevolent, but most perverted system that ever shone on man.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Thomas Jefferson, he left off on his tombstone that he was president of the United States. He left that off so he could include the Virginia separation statute. I can't remember if that's exactly it, but yeah, he was very hardcore against religion having anything to do with Constitution or the state. And this is something that they debated a long time. Obviously, the Rubio and Ben Carson either are ignorant or they're just trying to get the Christian voter by jerking them off and saying, yeah, Judeo-Christian values are America.
Yep. Well, Thomas Jefferson rewrote the Bible. It's called the Jefferson Bible. He rejected the divinity of Jesus Christ, and he took out all the magic when he wrote the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I was going to say something. I spaced it.
Yeah, and just one last thing is
okay.
If you compare the Bill of Rights to the Ten Commandments, they are nothing alike. Like, look at the first one. Freedom guarantees American citizens freedom of speech, freedom of religion, which means freedom from religion, whereas the first commandment is thou shalt have no God before me.
Yeah, they're completely in contradiction.
Yeah.
Well,
and also don't forget the freedom of religion means Muslims. You can be a Muslim here in America. That's fine. But of course the Christians are attacked. Well, a lot of Christians are
Christian
attacking.
values.
Yeah. Oh, Muslim values.
All right.
Yeah. Whatever.
Let's move forward because I think we've got another part that we really want to get to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you want me to cue up? Do you have something to say about it, Joe, or do you want me to go ahead and cue it up?
No. Yeah. Let's go ahead and. So Gloria Steinem and Madeleine Albright both have backed Hillary Clinton, and they both have said some pretty stupid shit.
Okay, so here's the Madeleine Albright will be speaking.
We can tell our story about how we climbed the ladder, and a lot of you younger women don't think you have to. It's been done. It's not done, and you have to help. Hillary Clinton will always be there for you, and just remember, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help each other.
Do we want to talk about that separately? I think we should talk about it separately.
Yeah, let's talk about separately. Okay, so right now she's saying if you don't vote for Hillary Clinton because she's a woman and you're a woman, that means you're a stupid bitch.
Yeah, you're a gender traitor.
You're a gender traitor. We need to vote for Hillary Clinton just because she's a woman. No, I'm sorry. Bernie Sanders has done more for women's rights than Hillary Clinton has. If you want women to excel and exceed and to be equal, vote for Bernie Sanders. And if you don't, I'm not going to say there's a special place in hell for you if you don't. I mean, it's not the logical and reasonable thing to do if you vote against him, but you need to vote for him. He's done more for women's rights than Hillary Clinton has by far.
Yeah, and he has a perfect voting record on Planned Parenthood. He's been talking about issues that affect women more than men, like the minimum wage affects women far more than it affects men. There are other things like healthcare affects women more than it affects men. There are other things that fall into that camp that he's dedicated to, and Joe will touch on that in a minute with the story.
And saying you should vote for Hillary because she's a woman, if you're a woman, is fucking sexist. And you shouldn't vote for somebody based off their gender, you know?
Yeah.
You should vote off their voting record, their actions, who they are.
Or even their race. I know a lot of people who voted for Barack Obama just because he was black. And it's like, you know what? That's pretty racist right there.
Well, and good thing that he had some decent values, especially compared to other candidates running at the time.
And I agree with that. But then, again, I look at who was donating to his campaign.
Yeah.
And I go, nope, not voting for this guy.
Yeah, I wish that we had someone who was more liberal at the time running. But he was probably one of the better options, unfortunately.
I understand that, but again, I'm never going to vote for the lesser of two evils. I'm just not going to vote.
Yeah, or you could vote for third party. If Hillary gets nominated, I'm probably going to vote Green Party.
Well, I can see if Hillary does get nominated, Bernie Sanders running independently.
I don't think he will.
Yeah, I don't think he will, and
know.
if he doesn't get the nomination, I will be voting third party.
But we're not voting for the same third party, so one of us has to be fourth party.
All right, I'm voting fourth party.
Well, if I'm not, I'll probably vote third party. But if Bernie Sanders does run independently, I will still be voting for Bernie Sanders. No matter what, if he gets the Democratic nomination or not, I will still be voting for him if he continues to run.
For sure. So here's Gloria Steinman. She is a feminist, and she's on Bill Maher's show. Let's just let her speak.
Kind of not fair to measure most women by the standard of most men because they're going to get more activist as they grow older. And when you're young, you're thinking, you know, where are the boys? The boys are with Bernie, or, you know.
Ooh. Yeah, ooh.
Yeah. So she's supposed to be a feminist, and one of the worst things that you can do to women from just normatively is to go ahead and make sweeping generalizations about women or what women's intentions are. Women are a diverse group of individuals.
So that was a feminist making a
very sexist remark
against women. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, I got a few.
Where are the boys at? Let's because young women can only think about sex.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. All right. Here's I have a couple of quotes. Gloria Steinman's statement was the worst kind of sweeping generalization I've heard in years about women my age, said Momita Hamed, 25. She has been campaigning for Sanders as one of the leaders of the millennials for Bernie's movement. I was hurt because I consider her to be an icon of the feminist movement, she continued. I identify as a feminist. I'm not sure how she could admit us young women are graduating with more debt and earning less money than, say, young women are supporting Bernie Sanders to oppress all boys. So basically what she's saying is she's a feminist herself, and she's supporting Bernie Sanders because more women today are going in higher debt and making less money nowadays. That's why she's supporting Bernie Sanders, because he actually cares about the issues, unlike voting for Hillary Clinton just because she's a woman.
Yeah.
And I agree with her 100%. What is her name?
You should post that.
Hamed.
Yeah, you should post that article on The Evil Atheist as soon as we're done recording.
And here's another quote from somebody else. Tennessee Thomas, 31, has been hosting Sanders campaigning events at her shop called the Deep End Club in New York City's East Village. She was similarly unimpressed. I am supporting Bernie Sanders because of where he stands on the issues, she said. It wasn't a good statement. The left needs to unify. We should be allowed to support who we want without attacking each other. I could list a million reasons why I prefer Bernie over Hillary. She supported the KXL pipeline and was in favor of the TPP and opposed gay rights until 3 years ago. So that's another thing I want to point out. Hillary Clinton didn't support gay rights until 3 years ago, people.
Yeah.
And then she went on Ellen. I'm sure Ellen didn't know, and she was like, "You've been fighting for gay rights for so long." And it's like, no, she hasn't. Ellen, I'm sorry. Bernie has. Bernie definitely has.
Bernie responded to the first clip that we played. She was asked directly about it, and I want to play that, and then we can talk for a couple minutes because that's all we'll have left. So here's Bernie Sanders responding directly to, I believe it was Gloria Steinem. Okay.
Madeleine Albright, former Secretary of State, was doing an event for Hillary Clinton, and she said there's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women. She's talking about your voters.
Well, look, I think that's an unfortunate statement. I think women should help women, women should help men, men should help women, men should help men. That's what life is about. But we are now talking about electing the President of the United States, and people should make their decision based on who they think can do the job best.
You are up with women. I know you're saying you don't buy the polls, but the polls say that you're actually doing quite well with women.
Look, people are hurting right now, and people are really angry about establishment politics and economics, about income and wealth inequality. And I'll tell you something else, Kate. People, whether they're conservative or progressive, are really disturbed about a corrupt campaign finance system.
Yeah, and we are.
Well, that's why I'm voting for him. I'm not voting for him because he's old or because he's a man, or I'm voting for him because of his policies. Yeah, and like the lady you had quoted, I can come up with a million reasons why, and it's not literally there's lots of reasons why I would choose Bernie over Hillary. And the main one for me, and it will always be this for me until it's corrected, is campaign finance. Because until we get campaign finance corrected, we're going to be stuck with the same shitty options for our politicians. And it's awesome that, for once, Bernie Sanders has gotten through, and maybe the next time in 20, 40 years that we have someone who's going to make that a priority.
And you all, if you want to try and get money out of politics, go to wolfpack.com. It's a group trying to get money out of politics.
I think it's wolf-pack.com.
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 So go there and check it out and see if you can help get money out of politics.
And Matt's the only member here, which means I probably should do more research on it.
So basically, actually, I'm a member as well. And basically what they're doing is they're trying to pass another amendment so basically all the states need to agree on the amendment, and then it will pass. And so far, who has voted for the amendment to pass?
And I don't think
it's all, which state?
I don't think it's all states. I think it's 35.
Yeah, it's like 35 states, but Vermont has passed it, where Bernie is from.
Yeah.
And I think it either passed in another state or there's
California. It passed.
It passed, and then there's a bunch of other states where it's working its way through.
Yeah, and we need to get money out of politics, because basically, if you donate all sorts of money to whoever politician you want, when they get into office, technically by law, this is legal, that they need to pass any law or do favors for whoever for the people who
they're not technically
is supporting them,
and they're not technically obligated, but you bet your ass they'll do it. Nine
exactly.
Out of 10
and
times.
So if they get $1 million from Goldman Sachs, and they're like, well, corporations are people too, and they gave me $1 million. Goldman Sachs, what do you want done? I want you to cut Social Security and raise all the ATM fees. Okay, sure, let's do that.
Remove those pesky laws that are stopping me from gambling with taxpayers' money on bad real estate.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if most people know this, but the whole Occupy Wall Street and all that movement was Wall Street bet against the housing market and then turned around and caused it to collapse and made all sorts of money from it.
Yeah.
So they ruined lives, and none of them are in jail, none of them are in trouble, and that's what Bernie's saying. We need to fix this. It doesn't matter how rich, how much money you make, which politician you're fucking. If you break the law, you need to be held accountable.
All right, and we're at the end of the time, so thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Recklessly Skeptical Podcast. Again, join us on Facebook and YouTube at The Evil Atheists, and until next time, take care.
Bye.
Peace. Peace. Love you guys.
Masturbate.
Think
Bernie
passionate-
Sanders 2016.
Think passionately.